Hey everyone.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, are we Michelle, do you know if we're expecting Mike Miller or anyone else?
I think just Mike. He said
Okay.
he's available, so
Oh,
maybe-
Mike is available, right?
yes.
Okay.
the invite.
Okay. Why don't we wait another minute or so? Get started. Okay, why don't we just go ahead and get started and hope he joins in a few minutes. So Tim Dodd, I am president of EEF, the Englewood Environmental Foundation. I'm calling this meeting to order. So why don't we just do a roll call and then see who has joined us as guests. So Member Underhill,
Present.
Member Lowe.
Present.
Great, so we have a quorum with all three members being present. And then let's see, Dan and then Kevin and then Brad, can you just introduce yourself?
Dan Paremba here, Chief Redevelopment Officer, Community Development.
Brad Power, Director of the Community Development Department.
Kevin Ingalls, Finance Manager for the city.
Great, welcome. And we have on the agenda approval of minutes for October 14th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from October 14th.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor by voice vote? Aye.
Aye.
That's three, from what I can tell, in favor. No votes and no abstentions. Great. Next is recognition of public comment. Michelle, did we have anyone reach out about schedule of public comment?
No,
Okay, great. And I don't think we have anyone on the call that would like to say anything. Okay, great. And then moving on, Michelle, is it okay if we take, or do we need a motion to move it? But could we take the approval of the PO for the Christmas lighting first and then get into the discussion about the possible dissolution? Or do we need a motion to change the agenda?
I think it's okay if we just change it. I don't think we need a motion.
Okay, so if that's okay with everyone, just so we can get this out of the way and then focus the meeting on the discussion of the main topic, first topic. Approval of PO with Colorado Christmas lights for holiday lighting. And there's an attached memo. And Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance for Public Works, Chris Edelstein, has joined the call. Chris, before we take up this item, is there anything that you want to share with the group?
I just wanted to make sure everybody realizes that it's not just the lighting for the normal trees, that it's also building the Christmas tree, doing the lighting and the decoration of that as well. So it is slightly more than the other vendor, but if you were to just compare the actual installation of the Christmas lights, the preferred vendor is cheaper than the other bid that we did obtain.
Great, and who is, if you could just remind us, which vendor are you recommending we give the bid to, and what is the total amount?
1 second.
Looks like it's Xmas Light Installation LLC.
I think it was about $27,000 for it. So Xmas light installation was $25,830. And again, that was with the large Christmas tree building, lighting. And Colorado Christmas lights gave me $23,097.
Okay, great. Are there any questions for Deputy Director Edelstein?
Quick question. Chris, is it something new? I don't remember, I might be wrong. I don't remember approving Christmas light last year. Lighting.
I would assume that the price was about the same, so it probably should have come in front of the board. Obviously, I was not involved with these last year, so I really can't answer that. Show, can you remember if this was brought forward last year?
Chris, unfortunately, I think you're a little not muted, but it's a little hard to hear.
A little bit. I don't know what's going on with their internet today.
Now you're perfect.
Okay. I was not involved with the EEF decision last year, so I was wondering if Michelle, do you remember if this was brought forward last year?
I believe so. I can double check the agendas from last year, but I think we did.
Okay, yeah, could you confirm? Yeah.
Sure.
Christina, any questions?
No questions.
Great. Can I get a motion then to approve based on the recommendation of Public Works? $25,830 to Xmas Light Installation LLC to supply and install Christmas lights and also to build out the holiday tree.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussions or questions? Okay, let's vote. Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Lowe,
Yes.
Member Dodd, I vote yes. Great. So with 3 being present and 3 votes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chris, for the presentation. So great. Now we're on to the main topic of today, which is the plan for the possible dissolution of EEF. I'm going to kick it over in a second to Finance Director and Board Member Jackie Lowe, who requested this meeting to kick off the discussion. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge and welcome Mike Miller of Spencer Fane, which is Mike is our long-term, I think the only attorney EEF has ever had. And so welcome, Mike, to the discussion in the meeting. We just went through a few other items and now we're ready to have this discussion. So thank you, Mike, for joining. Jackie.
Okay, I requested because I received information from the city attorney's office. So, and also received some attachments. I think some board members have received attachment. So I was just wondering, what are the steps necessary to dissolve EEF as requested by council member? Is there any outstanding issue that needs to be addressed?
Great, thank you. And Mike, I know you talked to City Manager Lewis and I about this, would you be willing to jump in and answer that question? If you're there, Mike. Okay. What I can try to do while he's maybe getting situated is I did have a chance to speak with him, Jackie, and I think I can try to find notes. I was hoping he could go through it all, but if not, I guess I could read the notes that I have from that discussion. Mike, are you able to speak and to join in on this discussion? Okay, I'm just going to pull up my notes then. I can. Okay, great. So Mike, I'll just ask one more time if you're able to participate in the discussion. Okay. So the notes that I have, Jackie, from a meeting that City Manager Lewis and I had with Attorney Mike Miller and another partner in the law firm of Spencer Fane by the name of Stephen Rickles, is that we would need to, once EEF is dissolved, we of course would need to determine what property management would look like. There are a variety of options that I think our two folks from community development could also discuss. And in terms of things that we need to dissolve, so property owned by EEF would need to be deeded back to the city. So that would be an attorney function. We would need, because it is incorporated as a nonprofit, we would need to notify the IRS that we were dissolving. At that time, the IRS can cancel EEF's tax ID number. We understand that EEF does own one office condo, which I believe is owned by the Guild at this time. And that would be transferred to the city. So we would need to do the paperwork on that. And then we would need to initiate, paying off bonding or anything like that and doing a closing. So my understanding, again, is that those are the main steps we would need to take to dissolve EEF.
Thank you. Do we have any outstanding environmental issues that might prevent us from dissolving EEF?
Yeah, so not that that right now, my understanding is being reviewed by the attorneys. Mike, are you able to participate now? Okay. Jackie, are there any other questions or things you wanted to lead into the discussion?
No, thank you for these steps.
Yep. Dan or Brad, is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion about some ideas that have been discussed or things to think about? This would obviously be more of a city function than an EEF function if EEF is dissolved, but just if you wanted to share any ideas at this point related to property management, if and when it is dissolved.
Yeah, Tim, I might just add, I don't know where things stand today, but I know Tamara was working fairly closely with Terracon. They've identified a number of recommended steps for investigation and potential mediation. But I think all those things need to be remediation, I should say. All those things need to be, my understanding is, vetted before the city could take back property, since as I understand it, the city is prevented from taking title to any property that has a potential environmental issue associated with it.
Tim, I don't have anything else to add. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So again, I think right now we're really just in a holding pattern until we get that report. And Mike, I see you came off mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
I apologize. I was
No
having
worries.
computer trouble.
Always
Dan-
happens. I've had it happen many times. No worries.
Dan is right. My understanding is that EEF has engaged Terracon to do an environmental evaluation. My recollection was that there was initially, at the initial development, back in the late 90s, early 2000, they discovered a plume that had migrated onto the site from a gas station across Hampton. And that was remediated. There were test wells put on the site, and EEF got a letter of no action from the state. Apparently, Terracon is concerned that that there may be some open-endedness or something left open from the no action letter. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming that Terracon will work through that. I'm not aware of any remaining environmental issue. There were two. That the plume was one. The other was the asbestos in the old shopping center, which of course has been totally removed, and that's a non-issue anymore. So the only possibility could be was the migration of that plume from across the street. And until the city attorney mentioned it a few weeks ago, that's the first I've heard of it in the last 10 years, probably. So I have no idea what that is, or what that problem is. But Dan's right. The city's not going to take the property until that issue is closed, or that loop is closed. And so you're not going to be able to dissolve until you can transfer the property back to the city. So that's one issue, as Tim mentioned. The other issue is that when EEF goes out of existence, there's going to have to be a replacement for the maintenance manager that is to be designated by the participants in the development under the CAM agreement. And I believe that probably EEF controls that vote as well. So it probably could designate whoever they select. Although my understanding from Tim is that there's been conversation with the stakeholders to get a consensus of who the property manager, new property manager might be.
And I think, Mike, in our previous conversation, you mentioned options could include delegating it to a third party. The city could be the manager, or a third party could do the management. Is that, those are the options?
Yeah, there's two roles here. One is the manager, and they make the policy decisions, and could or could not, it's at their choice, handle the financial arrangement, the billing, making the budget for the following year. The other is the actual work on site, the snow removal, et cetera. And just like EEF has hired vendors to do that, the property manager could do that, or whoever is doing the on-site work could in fact become the manager. Those are the two options, and the city could decide which direction they want to go.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you heard, Mike, when I was going through our notes, but I went through the other steps, which would be, deeding EEF back to the city, notifying the IRS we're dissolving, transferring the condo that EEF owns, the office condo, the guild, and then initiating paying off of any bonds and doing a closing. Are those once we get approval to move forward, are those the main steps we would need to follow?
Yes, I could hear you, but I couldn't.
Okay,
speak,
okay.
so that's
Okay.
all right.
No worries.
My understanding is the bond's been paid off, so I don't know that there's any further bond obligation.
Okay. Great. Any questions for Attorney Miller, or any other things we would like to talk about today related to this topic? Christina or Jackie, any questions?
No.
Great. So I think as an EEF board, we can certainly decide if we'd like to have follow-up meetings. My plan right now is just to wait and hear, from the city attorney's office in Terracon about next steps. And then once that has been resolved, then I think we could take up the things that were on the list that we'll have to do to dissolve EEF once that has been figured out. Does that sound like a game plan?
Yes.
Great. Kevin, Chris, Brad, Dan, anything else you want to add?
Rob, good, thank you.
Great. Anything else we need to discuss before we close? Thank you, Mike, for joining today, and thanks for everybody else. So if there isn't anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Well, everyone have a good weekend.
Great. Thank you. Bye.